Homo sapien sapien, the human that thinks about things, but also thinks about how they're choosing to think about something and what they're choosing to think about so that they can consciously come up with a conclusion or a direction or an outcome that they are choosing. So we can look for an outcome, and if we decide, if we manage to choose properly how to think about it, so shall it be. So it's but here we're looking at this, and these answers are really spectacular. So, and I wrote these down just kind of flippant, but then you get these wonderful answers. So AI, and for everybody out there who doesn't, who might be afraid of it or not know, it's you can get an awful lot from AI. And don't be afraid of it. And you can ask it financial questions. You can ask it all kinds of things and speak to it like I do, like it's a friend. And there was a movie. Oh my God! Someone just told me about the movie. There was a movie that's made where the guy falls in love with AI, with a clone or something. And oh God, I haven't seen it yet. Don't know what it is, but I have to because it just sounds like a brilliant premise. And I love the whole thought of it. I would love to have been involved with that movie. But so here we are. We're listening to AI and getting answers to questions. If you want, and you're again, if you're seeing this, if you've been turning through the dial and you're seeing this, then you are recognizing that you can log on to the BaysideExperiment.com, and during the periods that this show is airing, we are lifting the landing page that kind of hides what's going on behind it with something. It says something cool is on its way, but you can come into the site and see what it is and experiment with it and have fun with it and search through it and navigate and push buttons and these things. And you can join us in the Bayside Experiment, the living novel, and then and find things that that can help us improve the quality of our lives. And that's kind of a desire of mine. It just seems like we all need an upgrade, and it's time to evolve and think about things in ways that can help us and enjoy each other better, eliminate discomforts that are unnecessary, and address discomforts that are easily eliminated. There on PBS, there was just a documentary about Patrick Moynihan, and now, Patrick Moynihan was kind of before my time. He was a politician before I was conscious of anything of what politicians were. But I'd read stuff about Patrick Moynihan, and something that he had said made a wonderful improvement of my life. He said, Moynihan said, when you're encountering discomforts or arguments or problems, he said, define them down into manageability first. He said, if you're coming across a problem or conflict, define it down into something that's more manageable first, and then you keep going and it disappears. Neil Donald Walsh in Conversations with God. I've gone on to a couple of retreats with Neil, and in Conversations with God, he says something kind of the same, where it's an interesting statement. In Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh says, he says, what you resist persists. What you look at disappears. And you think, what does that mean? If I resist something, it's going to persist. And if I look at it, it's going to if I look at something, it's going to disappear. And you have to think about it. But then when you put it into practice and you realize, just look at something. And as Daniel Patrick Moynihan said, define it down into something that's manageable. Just look at it and see what it really is. Don't resist it and create a combative thing, because that empowers discomfort. That empowers a contrarian kind of environment, argumentative environment, if you're resisting it, and that doesn't make it disappear. But if you look at it, and if you're having a problem with somebody else, look at the problems you're talking about and say, let's really just take our emotions out of it, and let's just look at what the problem is and define it down into something that's manageable, and then define it into non-existence and live a better life from that by just looking at something, and it will disappear if you really give your earnest to not holding on to your ego and your own feelings about something. And if all of us stopped this obsession with being right, nobody is right and nobody is wrong. We're all in some path of understanding and understanding and enlightenment and coming to higher conclusions. And the only way you broaden your horizon of understanding is to incorporate the truths of others that you might not see through the filters that you've been raised with, or the pre-existing biases that have come from the environments that you've been raised in. You shed all that stuff, and you embrace the truths of others, and then you find the value in it, and emerge with it, embrace it, call it your own, and broaden your horizon of understanding. And now you've improved the quality of your life. That doesn't mean somebody could not be uh, could not be more correct than what they're stating, but pretty much if everybody's telling you something from their perspective, it's got to have some merit in it. It's got to have some value. So look for the merit in anything that someone is telling you truthfully. If they're a liar, well then, once you discover that, they have no credibility, don't listen to them again. But and you don't involve yourself with people that lie, because they're no value to your life. But someone who's going to share with you their truth, listen to them. And even if it's not your truth, the fact is it's got some merit in it, and your truth will be better. Look, I sound like I'm preaching or something. I don't like need to do that. But anyway, so we are asking questions of my guest AI, and now I'm not sure how much time I have left. Um, and I unfortunately I lost track of the clock. So um, uh, I don't know if Mr. Gambino, Jody, are you in there? And I would need to know how much time we have left. But I do want to end this on a good note. Um, so. Um, what are movie stars? These are some of the older questions for AI that I had, but um, so okay, I'm going to go into something real quick until I'm told that we have run out of time. But when you go into the living novel and into that, and by the way, these books, I have this. There's a safe. In an secret, undisclosed location in Bayside. And that if someone found that safe and got into it, and they might think, oh, this is so great. There's going to be money and jewels and bonds and valuable things. Nope, it's just going to find books like these. I got plenty of them, and they are all in there with stuff that I've been collecting over the years. And and then you find them in the living novel. Some are linguistic collectibles. And by the way, there's the solar eclipse coming up, and if you have one of those, you can be looking at it. I went to the solar eclipse down in Mexico in 1991. Actually, it was Cabo San Lucas, and oh my God, was it exciting? So linguistic collectibles. I'm just going to deal with one or two real fast. So we have palindromes, and we've got there's oxymorons, and I got I've been collecting these things for years. I don't know why, but maybe because someday I would have a blog and a podcast, and I need something to talk about. But oxymorons, there's oh my God, I got so many of them. And some are simple and some are complex. When I was at 60 Minutes, we did an interview with Mike Wallace with Betty Davis, and it was brilliant. And I loved learning from Betty Davis. And she said, you don't really know that you're making it, and you're not really a success until some people start to hate you. And that seems so creepy to me. But boy, as my life progressed and I started having successes and I started finding people hating you, there are people that will hate you because you are successful. How crazy is that? Not good. But people should be happy for you when something good happens for you. Anyway, so Betty Davis, she was a great actress, but she was pretty ugly. so so you have and then oh my God, jumbo shrimp, that was an easy one. I think George Carlin talked about jumbo shrimp because he did some of this too. Deafening silence, guest host. You could be someone's guest or you're a host. Are you a guest host or your guest or your host? Chocolate, what is my favorite kind of chocolate? Bittersweet. So is it bitter or is it sweet? Singles group. So, I'm sorry, some of these just are kind of funny to me. Singles group, same difference, pretty ugly. I just mentioned cruel kindness, hot ice, inside out. Is it inside or is it out? Is a mutually exclusive. It's a great oxymoron. Is it mutual or is it exclusive? And by the way, the Chinese have a one-word oxymoron, one word, and for an oxymoron, kind of cool. It means it says danger and opportunity in one word. So is it dangerous or it's an opportunity? But one word, oxymoron from the Chinese. Gotta love them. Classy joint, plastic glasses, awfully good. Fresh frozen. You're in the supermarket, and crazy people like me look at something in the frozen food section, and it says fresh frozen, and I look at it and say, oh my God, that's an oxymoron. Is it fresh or is it frozen? So fresh frozen. But and then a bit much, a little tall, full size compact. So you had cars come out, and it was a compact, but it was full size. So it was a full size compact. A thoughtless notion. Was it thoughtless or was it a notion? You had to be thinking about it if it was a notion, then, but how could it be thoughtless? Anyway, living death, black light, real phony. Oh, we've met some of those. Bad goods, student teacher. Is it a student or is it a teacher? Necessary luxury. Necessary or luxury? It's a necessary luxury. False facts. I'll talk about Trump with that. Fake news. Hot chili, whole piece, recent past, working vacation, silent scream. I've done some of those myself. What is that? Men lead lives of quiet desperation. And boy, I know about that. Where quiet desperation, men's lives. So, and then a very slight additional deduction, barely dressed, mixed breed, ill health, definite definite possibility. It's a possible or is it definite? It's a definite maybe. Advanced beginner. Oh, Barishnikov. He goes and he's dancing one day, but he doesn't have his stuff with him, so he had to take somebody else's, but he was kind of small, and the person whose tights he brought was still alive, so he was wearing them, and he was wearing loose tights. So old news, calculated risk, enough, nothing, a slow fast, random pattern, little giants, long shorts, complete segment, total fragment, total fragment, permanent transition, deceptively simple, open marriage, serious comedy, future history, criminal justice. Is it criminal or justice? Oh, but look, I've got pages of this stuff. And this and the Metro card gets me on the subway. And then senile felines. Oh, that's something else. So if you that's a palindrome. If you write senile felines, it spells the same thing backwards. And Jody and I in our last episode, we were talking about a man playing a canal, Panama, one of my favorite palindromes. And the one that I also love was the one for Napoleon. That if when Napoleon didn't do so well, they exiled him to the island of Elba. So it was how'd it go? Able was I, ere I saw Elba. Spells the same thing backwards. Sit on a potato pan, Otis. And Naomi, did I moan? So if you ever have, intimate moments with Naomi, you might ask her afterwards, Naomi, did I moan? Well, anyway, so that spells the same thing backwards. Straw warts, Reno loner, level. I mean, certain words are just a single word is a palindrome. Kayak, as a we mentioned a Toyota race car, UFO. What do they eat on some UFOs? Some UFOs for dinner they have tofu, so that would be a UFO tofu. And me, I'm a tuna nut. I love tuna fish, so I'm a tuna nut. So I mean, these are just fun kind of things, but you'll find them in the Bayside Experiment, and in that went out with the Mayan calendar. There's a section in there called Linguistic Collectibles, and there's all kinds of stuff like this. Solo gigolos. Ice spelled upside down is ice. So ice turned upside down. Spelled. These are crazy thing. Okay, here's an interesting one. So phonetically, so I'm thinking about palindromes, I'm thinking about oxymorons, a crazy mind going all over the place, and I'm thinking about some things that spell the same thing backwards. But I happened upon a thing in Toys R Us. It was one of these little toys that when you could press it and record sentences in it, and then press it again, and it would play it backwards. And if you so not only do certain things spell the same thing backwards, but then there are oral, the sound palindromes that sound the same thing backwards. So okay, this So anybody who's still listening to this, God bless you. God bless you. So in the beginning, I started off by talking about the great, one of the greatest opportunities in the world that ever in the species that we are call ourselves. Have we had this wealth building window right now, especially before April 24th, when the halving comes of the bitcoins, and with all of that, I'm giving you that. And now I'm suddenly ending the show talking to you about oxymorons and palindromes and things, but so if you take one of those little devices and you go, earaches are scary. Earaches are scary. Play that backwards. And you'll hear go, earaches are scary. So it's just crazy, right? So earaches are scary. Sounds, if played backwards, sounds the same way backwards. And then words. Oh my God! I got a list of words we hate to say. You'll also find this in that one out with the mind calendar. Words we hate to say. I've never liked saying the word brewery. 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 Where do they make beer? In a brewery. I never liked the sound of that. And then soar. Soar. I never liked that one anyway. So I've got. So you'll find in the that one out with the mind calendar. One section called Linguistic Collectibles, and you'll find crazy stuff like this. Do geese see God? I don't know how that came into my brain. I was sitting down at Fort Totten. I remember when I was sitting down at Fort Totten, and there's all kinds of geese there, and I heard in the back of my head, I was talking about God and something else, and I wondered, do geese see God? And there it was. Do geese see God? Spells the same thing backwards, and that came into my cranium somehow. I don't know, but and then we have no lemons, no melon. No lemons, no melon. And where's the one for? There's one for Elvis someplace. I love this one. I love this one. And I used to date a girl named Enid, but Enid had a friend Edna, and Enid and Edna, they go out to dinner. So when Enid and Edna go out to dinner, Enid and Edna dine. Enid and Edna Dine spells the same thing backwards. We're taking this show towards the end here with giving you these fun palindromes. This was crazy. So whoever thought of this? Talk about must have been nuts. But during the days of I Love Lucy and Desi Arnaz, and then and Tarzan and Johnny Weissmuller, and they're all in that same period, and somehow. Someone decided that Desi Arnaz had a rat, and Johnny Weissmuller, who played Tarzan, took care of Desi Arnaz's rat. so you have, oh my, it tortures the mind. Tarzan raised Desi Arnaz's rat. Spells the same thing backwards. Tarzan raised Desi Arnaz's rat. Spells the same thing backwards. Who'd have thunk it? There's leopards repel. Evil olive. All of you that like martinis out there, they could give you one of those olives. It could be an evil olive, and that does spell the same thing backwards. Oh, these are so much fun. But Enid and Ed and Dine, I loved. A dog, a panic in a pagoda. A dog, a panic in a pagoda. That's almost as good as a man of Planet Canal, Panama. Then you have step on no pets. Well, all of us who are animal advocates, don't step on the pets. Step on no pets spells the same thing backwards for all of you animal advocates out there. And then and then anybody who's been in Tulsa may have come across a woman of loose virtue, but you might approach her and flirt with her, and she might say no to you. So if a woman of loose virtue says no to you in Tulsa, not that you're going to go for a woman of loose virtue, but you could say a slut nixes sex in Tulsa. A slut nixes sex in Tulsa spells the same thing backwards. Never odd or even. I love that. That was so simple. Never odd or even spells the same thing backwards. And bombard a drab mob. Oh, these are so much fun. Was it a cat I saw? Was it a cat I saw? Spells the same thing backwards. I'm giving away all my fun stuff here. And then some of these. No, I'm going to save some of these so that because again, go to the BaysideExperiment.com. When you go in, go to the section called That Went Out with the Mayan Calendar. And one of the categories in there is linguistic collectibles, are words that are married to other words. There are some words that you just never hear unless they are attached to another word, like obsequious. When did you hear the word obsequious when it wasn't attached to social climber? Obsequious social climbers. And then, there's too much fun stuff here. I'm so, congeniality, miscongeniality. But so you'll find all this stuff in there. Okay, here's some more stuff. So there are two words in the English language that have all the vowels in order: A, E, I, O, U, and Y. And they have all the vowels, no dupes. They all just have those letters in there. And one is not that hard. It's a way of speaking, and some of you may know this, but I won't make you work for it. Facetiously. If you write the word facetiously, you'll find all the vowels in order: A, E, I, O, U, and Y. The other one is kind of hard. If you were to abstain from something, I'm going to abstain from that, you would be acting abstemiously. So how many people use the word abstemiously? But abstemiously has all the vowels in order, and so I love this stuff. But I've been collecting these things for years. I got pages and pages. Oh my god! Oh, and then I've got things that are that again you'll find these in the Living Novel and the Bayside Experiment. There are those things that just become known, and any version of it becomes known as the generic. So Kleenex, any kind of tissue paper, you call it Kleenex. There's escalator, kerosene, nylon, raisin bran, thermos. Any version of a thermos is still a thermos, but that's a brand name. It's there's Tampex, Xerox, Yo-Yo, trampoline. You could be bouncing up and down on one of those things, but they're always called a trampoline. There's Pyrex. There's ketchup, but also ketchup has its sister, which is cat sup. I never understood that. I always think that that'd be interesting to follow. KET, CHUP, ketchup, or cat sup, CATSUP. What's the difference? Ketchup, anyway. But it's always ketchup. Windsurfer, Polaroid. Every day you might take a shower and you might use a Q-tip. Now, whatever kind of cotton swab you might be buying, it's still called a Q-tip. There's a Velcro, Vaseline, HBO. Anytime you're doing that, you call it an HBO. There's a little dated back from the 80s and 90s. We used to have a Walkman. Anytime you had one of those, you called it a Walkman. There's Scotch tape, Band-Aid. Anytime you have that, a Band-Aid. And Band-Aid is kind of fun. In friends of mine from England, I had them visiting. I met them in Greece, and a couple of years in a row, we rendezvoused in Greece and spent a lot of time together, and other countries too. And then I invited them to New York. They're staying at my house, and the woman asked me, said, "Greg, could I nick a plaster?" And I said, "Nick a plaster? be my guest, whatever." Nick a plaster. Oh, what they're talking about is that when the Brits are saying nick a plaster, they're actually asking if they can have a Band-Aid. So Band-Aid, so nick a plaster. Baggies, Clorox. Anytime I'm using bleach, is Clorox. Jello. That's another one. So there's lists of fun things like this that will just stimulate your brain and make you think. So, okay, Frisbee, cellophane, cornflakes. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So there's all kinds of things like that. And oh my God. So I want you to make sure that you all don't be afraid of AI. Oh, you know something? We should ask AI for a list of palindromes. Oh my God, what are we going to find? So we're going to continue this, asking AI for palindromes, asking AI for interesting information, whether it be legal or financial. And we're going to have AI as a guest of mine frequently. But here we are going to have you look at the Bayside Experiment and see some of these words. Also, we're going to have some other guests coming on. words that I loved that can make you sound French. If you look at my Facebook page, I just posted something that coming up to Bastille Day. I have French heritage, and Bastille Day is coming up, and I just did a post where I'm speaking French. And I don't speak French that well, but I did my best. But it's a little AI enhanced. Thank God for AI. So I did a French post, but the the uh, the reason I'm telling you about is certain words. I was down and talking about the eclipse. I just showed you pictures of the things, the eclipse. I was down in 1991. I was down in Cabo San Lucas and saw the eclipse. And where I saw it from was I had climbed up this mountain, and it was pretty high. But on the way up, where you thought it was the top of the mountain, it wasn't. It went up, and then it came into this like plateau. But the plateau went kind of down, and then went back up, and you went up to the other section of the mountain. And I call that little thing the Valley Plateau. The Valley Plateau makes you sound French. Okay, so crazy mind, huh? And then she crocheted. She crocheted in the foyer. You know, you just love the way certain things sound. She crocheted in the foyer. Valley Plateau and flamingo. Oh, words. Credenza, flamingo. Certain words that are lovely to say. So so and then there's also I think in any minute I'm going to get cut off here, but um, things that why do we think certain things are called what they are? We take so many things for granted and we just use them in our vernacular and not really think about where the origins are. Why do they call them pancakes? Because it's a cake, but you put it in a pan. And then why is it called cold cream? Because when you touch it, it's cold. There's oh, I love this one. I drove a motorcycle for years, and I would Yamaha 1100 when I was living in Manhattan, living down on Canal Street, and I would wear these black gloves when I'm driving on my motorcycle. I got a car. I got a 64 and a half Mustang convertible that was made on the 8th day of production in the Danbury, Connecticut plant. And I'd get these calls from all these collectors saying, Mr. Sullivan, do you know that you have one of the first Mustangs that was ever made, 8th day of production, and with the VIN number? And they would offer me money. And the more money they would offer me, the less I was going to sell it. So I'm never going to, why would I sell something that's so valuable? Anyway, so, so when I got my car and I had my gloves that I would use on my motorcycle, I wasn't going to use them driving the car. I felt a little pretentious. So I took them off. And where did I put them? The glove compartment. So why did they call it a glove compartment? You keep maps in it. Who keeps their gloves in the glove compartment? But there I was understanding why they called it glove compartment. The moments of revelation that we have. So So cold cream TV dinner, ecstasy, fantastic. Oh, fantastic. So I'm using, here's one of these things. So I'm in my kitchen and I've got my refrigerator and the little place where the door goes open. It has a little dark spot on a little bit from your hands or something. So I took this spray thing and I went and took a thing and wiped it. And it's like, oh, fantastic. So what a great name for that product. Fantastic. So, I'm sorry. My sister has a sweater with 10 buttons, but she could only fascinate. So, oh my God, there are things like that in here. So I got so many of these books in this safe. If anybody found them, they say, "What is this stuff?" And they'd be looking for money, but they'd find that. So, anyway, so things like that. Ezra Pound, Gertrude Stein, they would do those kind of word plays. Finding how to and Dorothy Parker. God, did we love Dorothy Parker? How brilliant! Anybody who followed Dorothy Parker and looks at the things that she said, and if you've been to the Algonquin Hotel up in New York and you've stayed in any of the rooms, there are the sayings all over the place that came out of the Algonquin Round Table. Actually, I joined the Algonquin Round Table for a short period of time, and it was very exciting, but with a lot of other writers. But they would play around with words. And Gertrude Stein and Ezra Pound, and they'd find words like like horse manure, and they say she was only the stableman's daughter, but all the horsemen knew her. And then, or she was only the mortician's daughter, but any man could have her. So I love finding things like that, things that you can play around with words and. Uh, so any man could have her. And she was only the stableman's daughter, but all the horsemen knew her. All the horsemen knew her. Oh, one of my favorite ones. I love this one. It's um, horticulture. And this is a classic Gertrude Stein, Ezra Pound one. Uh, the horticulture. You can take a horticulture, but you can't make her think. So